Hello everyone. Am I audible and visible as well? And visible as well. No replies yet. Okay. Yeah, got the reply. Let's wait for 2 more minutes, then we are going to start. So, have you guys revised all the previous stuff that we have done? Some basic only. Today we are going to do operators and typecasting and conditionals. So this will be the syllabus for today. Let me share the screen till some more people join. So okay, let's start. Right. So today what we are going to start with is typecasting. Okay, typecasting. First topic will be typecasting. So what is typecasting? As the name suggests, that we have to convert one type into another. Okay, so let's say we take an example where we have int a is equal to before int, let me write some other way. Okay, so let's say we have an example char c is equal to, we have stored a in it. Okay, now as we all know, we have discussed in the previous class already that a is stored in the memory as 97, right? This is the sky value of a. So can we write it like this? Int I is equal to a, right? Because when we write it like this, it will take the value of I as 97 instead of a. Okay, and is it like legal to write this? Yes, it is legal to write this. Why? Because char takes 2 bytes of space, right? And int takes 4 bytes of space. So we can store a smaller space object into a bigger space. Okay, that is quite obvious, as we have like in the normal space as well. If we have a big box, we can definitely store a smaller box inside it, right? So this is the same logic, that if we have char c is equal to a, and we can write it as this way, int I is equal to a, or sorry, we can write it this way as well. Instead of a here, we can write c. Okay, because c is storing a, same way, right? So if we try to print I, SOP I am writing for system.out.print. If I try to print I, the answer will be 97. Okay, but now let's take another example. In this example, what we are going to do, let's say we have int I is equal to 97. Okay. Now, if we are trying to do char c is equal to I, can we write it like this? I think live chat is not okay. So, can we write it like this? No, because int is 4 bytes of space, 4 bytes of space, and char is 2 bytes of space. And we cannot fit the bigger box into a smaller box, right? That's why this will not work. So what can we do here? If we want to convert, like if we are telling our system that you have to convert my 97 into that is my character. Okay, so what we can do here is the concept called typecasting comes into play in this case. So what happens is, let me erase some part of it. Okay, so it is taking a little time, but that's okay. Okay, so what we are going to do here, we are going to write it like this, like int I is equal to 97. So we have char c is equal to, we can typecast it, we can write, sorry, instead of int we have to write char here because we want to convert it into char. So we will write char here and we will write I here. Okay, this means that we want to convert explicitly, like we are forcing it to convert this I into the character. Okay, so this is how we do typecasting. That means if we want to convert a bigger spaced object into a smaller spaced object, then we have to explicitly do it with the help of typecasting. Okay, we can do it with any of the data types. So let's say if we have double value, double d is equal to, let's say we have 97.5. Okay, if we want to convert it into float, how we are going to do that? So we can write it like this: float f is equal to let's say fa is equal to, what we have to do, we have to write it like this: float 97.5, or we can write it like float of d. Okay, so this will make more sense, float of d. Why we are writing like this? Because double is 8 byte space and float is 4 bytes of space, right? So this is how we convert bigger object, or you can say bigger data type, into a smaller data type by typecasting it. Okay, so let's do it in the code as well. We'll see how it is working. So let's write some code here and we will understand it better. So let's say int a is equal to, I'm writing it not int, let's write char c is equal to, let's write a. Okay, this is okay. Now I want to convert it into 97. So how we are going to do that? Int I is equal to c. Okay, and this will not give me any error. Let's try to print it. System.out.print, what we are going to print? I. Okay, so let's print it and run it. What will be the output? Output is 97. You can see here, right? Now, one more thing, that if we reverse it, so let's say we have char is equal to this and int is equal to 97, and let me comment this and I'll write it here. Char c is equal to, okay, I'll zoom it. Okay, char c is equal to, if I'm writing it like this, not char, first of all let's see if it gives an error. So can I write it like this? No, I cannot. Why? Because it is giving me an error that type mismatched. Okay, so we have to type char here. Now the output will be, let's write c, let's print c. What will be the output? Output is a. Okay, so we can convert it this way. Now let's take some more examples for float and something. Okay, So let's say 97.5. I'm printing 97.5 plus 9, let's say. Okay, this is first example. Another example, system.out.print, let's say 98.5 plus 9.5. Okay, I'm adding two doubles here. Now let's copy paste it. Sorry. Now let's see if we are adding two integers only. So what will be the output for them? So first of all, what we are doing in the first case, I am adding a double and an integer. Okay. In second case, double and double, and in third case, integer and integer. Okay. So in first case, if we are adding double and 9, that means integer. So double has 8 bytes of space and integer has 4 bytes of space. So when we are adding small one and the larger one, so let's take an example. What I'm trying to tell you, that let's say, let me erase it first. It will take a lot of time. Why is it not erasing? Let me write it here. Okay, so let me write it here. Let's say I am adding 999 or 7 plus 2. Okay, so the answer will be the bigger one, right? This is the same way we have to do that. If we are adding double and integer, then answer will be double only. This is what an example I wanted to give you, that if we are adding double and integer, the answer will be double. If we are adding double and double, answer will be double. If we are adding integer and integer, answer will be integer. Okay, so let's run it. And you can see, sorry, I have to do ln here to specify it correctly. Okay, now let's do it. Okay, this is double, and this is integer, right? Because we have added two doubles, the answer is in double, and we have added two integers, the answer is in integer, right? So this is how typecasting works. If we want to convert, and one more example I wanted to give, that if we have, let's say, float h, okay, float h is equal to, let's say I have to write 87. Okay, we cannot write it this way. Okay, we have to write f here as well. Why we want to have to write f here? Because while writing 87.0, let's say I'm writing 87.0, so what happens is, internally in Java, everything, if we are writing it in the decimal value, is converted, is initially taken into double. Okay, it is initially double whatever we are writing in decimal values. So if we want to convert into float, we have to write f here. Okay, then it will not give any error. That's why it is internal typecasting that we do. But also, instead of this, we can write it this way as well, float. Okay, so this will also work because we are converting double into float. Now it will work, right? So this is how we do typecasting if we want to convert a bigger element into a smaller element, right? Sometimes there can be a data loss because we are doing converting a bigger value into a smaller value. So there can be a data loss, but sometimes we know there will not be any data loss and we need the value that we have to convert. So that in that cases it will work, right? I hope you guys have got the typecasting, how it is working. Just give me a heads up if you guys have got it. Any doubt till now? One more example we can take. If we have 2 by 5 here, they both are integers, right? 2 is integer, 5 is integer. So if I run it, what will be the answer? Answer is 0. So 2 by 5 is 0. Why? Because both are integer. If we want the value in point, what can we do? We can convert one of them into double. Okay, let's convert double 2 into double. So what will happen? If we run it, the answer will be 0.4. Okay, character plus float, character plus double. No doubt. Okay, character plus float, typecast. What does that mean? Character plus double and character plus float. What if float, like if float, I haven't got you, Kedar and Sovik. I don't get you. What you guys are telling? Can you specify? A plus 5.5f. Okay, let's do it. A plus 5.5f. Okay, you want to run it this way. Let's run it. So it is 102.5. Why? Because this value is float value, which is 4 bytes, and this is 97, right? 97 plus any float value, it will be float, because point value is more important, right? It will not give me integer, because we have specified that one value is float. When we are adding float plus integer, the answer will be float. Okay, and when we are doing this, system, I want to know the difference in float and double. Okay, so the difference between float and double. Float means the space difference. Okay, so difference is just like, let me erase it properly first. Where is the eraser? Let me erase it. Just give me a second, guys. Why can't we erase the whole board? There is no option for that, so that is an issue. So for float, let's say, I have already told in the previous class that float takes 4 bytes of space and double takes 8 bytes of space. It is just same, just the space is difference. So they both store decimal values, but their space in which they are stored is different. It is 4 bytes and it is 8 bytes. Okay, this is the only difference between float and double. Now let's move forward. Okay, I think typecasting is clear now. Now let's move forward and we will study about the input. Okay, how we can take input in Java. We haven't covered this yet, and now we will cover it. So I think there is some problem. Just give me a minute. Okay. Go for it. Okay. Now we will see how to take input in Java. Let's start. Okay. So input, how to take input in Java. So there are many ways to take input in Java. So what happens is, the basic, more easiest way is to take input by scanner. Okay. We can take input by scanner. There are other ways as well. Buffered input, we can take input from that. Buffered input. But initially, for the initial stages, we don't use it, and afterwards as well, we don't use it. Sometimes in CP we have to use it because of the time it takes a little less time. But usually, scanner is the best way to take input in Java, and for the initial phases, you should only use scanner. Okay. So how to take input from scanner? First of all, we have to write the statement scanner s is equal to new scanner system.in. Okay, so what does this mean? So scanner is a class in Java. Okay, so first of all, to use scanner, we have to import scanner as well. So how we are going to use that? First of all, at the top of our program, we have to write import java.util.scanner. Okay, you can write scanner or you can write star as well, right? So if we are importing scanner, what we are doing here, we are importing a class named scanner into our program. Okay, then now here what we are doing, scanner s is equal to new scanner system.in. What does this mean? That we are making an object of class scanner. So we haven't studied yet about oops. Okay, when we will come to oops, then we will study about what is object, what is class, everything. But right now you just have to think in this way, that we have a scanner as a class, and which is used to take input from the user. Okay, and here what we are doing, scanner s is equal to new scanner. This means we are making an object of this scanner class, and we are going to use this s to take input from the user, right? And what is this system.in? It is input stream. Okay, this tells the system that you have to take the input from the stream only, right? So from the input stream only, whatever we are going to write on the console, so that it can take the input. System.in represents that, and new scanner, it is just to make the new object of scanner, right? So how to take input, right? So how we are going to take input? Let's say if we want to take the integer input from the user, so how we are going to write it? Int a is equal to s dot next int. This is how we are going to write it. Int a is equal to s dot next int. That means we are using this s object. This is an object of a scanner class. We are using this s to take the input from the user. How we are using it? So in a class, we have a lot of functions. Okay, this is one of the functions in that class with which we are taking the input of integer. Just right now, just think it this way, like we have to take the input with the help of this. When we will study about objects, classes, everything, oops, in the next to next class, then you will get it, right? So this way we have to take the integer input. Okay, you can take other inputs as well. Let's say int, not int, we have to take, let's say, double input. So how we are going to do that? Double d is equal to s dot next double. This is how we write. Okay, this is how we take input for the double. Same way we can take input for long. Here we have to write long for that. If we want to take input for short, we have to write short there. Okay, same way if we want to take input of all the things are covered. If we want to take input of float, we have to write float here. This way we have to write this. Okay, so now let's run it, and we will see how it is taking the input, and then we will come to the input, how we take the input of string, and also as well as how we take the input of character. Then we will come to that. Right now let's try to write this. Okay, let's for now erase it. Now we will not use it now. Okay, first of all, for that what we have to do, we have to import. If we want to use any internal class of Java, then we have to import it from the class Java, from the package Java, and util, then the subpackage util, and then we have to write scanner. Okay, I'll tell all of these, explain all of these in the oops class. What is Java, what is util, what is scanner, how we are, why we are importing it, and what we are doing here. But right now just understand it that we are using scanner. That's why we are importing scanner into our function. Okay, now how we take input? First of all, we have to take scanner s is equal to new scanner system.in. Okay, this is the first line that we have to always write to make an object of scanner. Now int a is equal to s dot next int. If we want to take an integer input, okay, if we want to take the integer input, then we have to write it like this, s dot next int. Now let's try to print it, system.print a. Okay, this is, now let's try to print a. First of all, it will ask us for the input, and then it will print that input, whatever we are giving it. Okay, so let's run it. Now you can see here there is a red block here. That means this code is running. The code is running. Now it wants us to give it the input to it. So let's say it is an integer, right? So we have to give an integer input only. So let's say we are giving 6. So it is printing 6. Why? Because we are first we have written that a is storing the value what we are giving, and then we are printing a. That's why when we are giving it 6, it will give us output as 6 only. Okay, now let's take another input. Let's say we are taking int b is equal to s dot next int, same integer, and what we have to do, we have to print the sum of this. So here plus b, and let's write in front of it the sum of a and b is, and then we have to write plus in front of. Okay, so now let's see how it is going to work. So here the program is running, we can see with the red block, let's say 6 and 7, and the sum is 13, right? We can take space here as well, so there will be space. So the sum of a and b is 13. This is how we take integer input. Now let's take another input as well. Let's say we have to take float, or we can say double. Okay, generally we use double in Java in everywhere. There are very less like there are very less ways we use float, but all the time we use double only. So double d is equal to s dot next double. Okay, so we have to write this way. So now let's do, instead of a we are going to write d plus b plus a also. Okay, so now let's run it. Yes, I am reading your comments. So first of all we have to give input as a. Okay, 4, then 5, then we have to give double input 8.9. Okay, the answer is 17.9. So just tell me one thing, when I am doing sum of a plus b plus d, what will be the output? Like, is it a double value or an integer value or a float value? So why we use double mod? So internally everything is like, just like in integer, what happens is everything, if we are writing like a 4, 5, 6, Java takes it as an integer. Okay, it doesn't take it as long. Same way, if we are writing anything in decimal, it is taking as double instead of float. Okay, so there is nothing hard and fast rule why it is taking it, but it is internally what Java does. Okay. Okay, so the output will be double, right? So the output will be double. No. Why integer? Because we are adding two integers and one double value. Double takes 8 bytes of space, and integers take, both the integers will take 4 and 4 bytes of space. And when we add a bigger space with two smaller spaces, the answer will be a bigger space. Okay, that's why the answer will be double. This 17.9 is double. Okay, so now let's move forward, and this is, now let's see how we take a string input. Okay, string input, string, let's say s is equal to what we have to write, s dot, not s because we have already used s, str. Let's say str s dot next. Okay, with the help of s dot next we can take a string input. Now let's print it as well. Control C, Control V. Okay, so now let's try to print str as well. Str, right? So what it will do is, let's write ln here. It will take me for 4 inputs, right? Okay, so let's run it. First of all, let's write 3, 4, 5.5 because we have to give double input. Then str, some string. Let's say a, b, c, d. Okay. Now the answer is sum of a and b is 12.5. Sorry, a and b and c and d is 12.5. Okay, and a, b, c, d is the string that we are giving here. Okay, that's why it is printing str. Now one more thing, let me comment it. We already know how it should be done. Let me comment this as well. Now let's see one more thing. Let me print it. So let's say I am giving input as this way: a, b, c, d, e, f, g, h, i, j. Okay, I am giving input this way. So what do you think the output will be? So I am taking str as the input. Okay, s dot next, with the help of s dot next, and we are printing system dot out dot print str. So what will be the output for this? Is it ABCD space EFG space HIJ or something else? Okay, ABCD. Okay, anyone else? ABCD, right? So the output will be ABCD. Why? Because this s dot next, what it does is, until it gets some delimiter. Delimiter is something like space. Okay, until it gets a space between them or an enter button. Okay, A B C D, enter, E F G H I J, if I am writing like that way. So what will happen is space, until it gets a space or an enter, it will print till then only. Okay, after that it will not print. So for that, if you want the whole line, what it will do is we have to use next line for that. Okay, now if I run it and I give input the same way, A B C D E F G H I J, if I do this way, now the output will be same, A B C D E F G H I J, right? So this is how we do string inputs. Okay, same way, one more thing, in Java there is one thing that we don't have anything to take a character input. Okay, so we cannot take character input just like we are taking next int, next float, next double. We don't have next char. Okay, so for that what we do is we first of all take the input in string and then convert it into character. So let's say this is the input I am giving, ABCD space EFG space HIJ. Then what we do is we take a char. Okay, char ch is equal to str dot char at, let's say, whatever index we want. What we want? 0. Let's say if we want to take the first character of this string as the input, then we do this way. So let me write it this way. Okay, so let me print a here. Okay, so instead of str, let me print ch here. So if I am giving ab, so I have to run it again. So I am writing AB. Okay, so what will be the output? Output will be A only. Why? Because we wanted only first character. Instead of that, if I wanted second character of the string that we are giving, then we will write this 1. Okay, so let's say A, B, answer will be B. Why? Because there is an index that is working here. So what happens is, let's say I am writing A and B. Okay, so its index is 0 and its index is 1. That's why then we, and this is a string, right? So if this is str string, if we have AB, so what we have to do, str dot char at, if I write 0, that means first character will be fetched. If I write 1 here, then second character will be fetched. Okay, str dot char at means string and character at this string, and we use char at whichever we want. Okay, so there is no character input for Java. We have to first take the input in string, then we can convert into character, right? So this is how we take all the inputs. You cannot input any string after input. Okay, so let's take that example as well. If we want to read more than one line, say 4 lines are there with each of them terminated by a new line. Can we change the delimiter to something else while taking the string input? Okay, so I'll answer one by one. We cannot take input any string after input any integer. Okay, so first of all, this is a common thing in Java, that first of all, let's take an integer input. Okay, after that, if I am taking some string input, what will happen? Right, so there is a problem in this. So let me run it. Okay, so let's say I am taking 2. First of all, we have to give int, right? So there is an exception. What is that? The exception is the string that I am giving input, which I haven't given yet. So what happens is I haven't given the input of string, but it has already taken it. So why I am telling this? Because first of all, we have to give the int integer, right? After that, we have to give the string integer, but it is not taking that. And what it is saying to me is that we are trying to print ch, that means the character at 1. So it is saying the 1 does not exist. Okay, so but we haven't given the input yet, right? So that is the problem here. The problem is even if I do 0 here, what will happen? Let me see. So let's say I am writing 3 here, I am pressing enter, string, still there is an error. Why? Because what happens is when we take string integer input first, what happens is when we press enter, it takes enter as the input for the string. Let me write it here. I'll explain you what is happening here. So what is happening here is when we are taking string, okay, and before that I am taking integer. Okay, int a is equal to, I taken some input, let's say 5, And when I am pressing enter, so in str string, what is happening is it is taking enter as the input. So enter is also a character. Okay, so we don't have know what it is or what it does, but it takes enter as its input. Okay, when it takes enter as its input, it will go on to the next line only. Okay, it will not take string as the input. So to correct it, what we do is, after taking the int integer, what we do is we write as dot next line once again. Okay, in this case what will happen, has not has next line, not has next line. Okay, we write s dot next line once again, so that that's enter input will be go on to the s dot next line, then we can take our input. Okay, that's why we are writing s dot next line once more. Okay, yeah, enter is taken as the string. So let me run it. Now it will work perfectly. So here we will have first of all we have to give integer 3, then it is taking me to the string input. Now I can give ab and answer will be a. Okay, now I think this is clear. Now let's move to the next. What will we do if we want to read more than one line, say 4 lines are there with each of them terminated by a new line? So we have to take input 4 times only, right? This way. So a b c d. So you have to, if you want all the 4 lines, then you have to take input in the next line. Okay, either you have to make a file, that is another thing. Otherwise you can take string str1 is equal to s dot next line, but next line will only take input for the same line only. That means let me run it. Okay, so let me run it this way. Let's say 4 first of all, then a b c d, we have to take input like this. So whatever you write in one line, it will go only in str. Then if I am writing next line this way only, then it will go in the next line. Okay, a is printing because we are just printing ch from str, but you cannot do this thing that if there are 4 lines, they have to go into str only, one only, but you have to, whatever you want to write, you have to write in a one line, then the next line will take the input only. Okay, so can we change the delimiter to this or something else while taking string input, sir? Okay, so delimiter can be changed. Okay, I don't think it is, I think it is internally built. We cannot change the delimiter, but we can try. Okay, maybe there is internally it is already there. So if I am using 4, okay, and then let's write abd, then let's write this. Okay, so I think this will not be it will give me error. So we have to use the delimiter as enter only, or the space. Okay, we cannot use it like this because it is taking this whole input as the integer input only. Okay, so this is how it works. I think input part is clear now. Can we move forward with operators now, if this is clear? Taking input of anything, string, float, anything, you can take input. Until you reply, let me erase it. I don't know why it is, we have to erase this way, but we will. Okay, do it fast. Let me try to refresh it. Okay, will it work? Blank canvas. Yeah, it worked. Okay, so now let's move to operators. So first of all, we are going to study about relational operators. Very simple operators, relational operators. We have to do it fast because we don't have much time. So first of all, relational operators. In relational operators, what, as the name suggests, we have to see the relations. So let's say we have int a is equal to 10, okay, and int b is equal to 20. Now we have to find some relation. Okay, the relation can be there. The operators are greater than, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to, equal, and not equal. Okay, these are all the relational operators that we have in Java. So what does it do is, it first of all, it always gives us Boolean answer. That means it will only give us either true or false. Yeah, it is very obvious that if we write a is greater than 0, that means we are asking that if a is greater than 0, क्या a b से बड़ा है, we are writing it this way, if a is greater than b, so what will be the answer for that? A is not greater than b, right? So answer will be false. If we write it this way, a is less than b, in this case answer will be true. Okay, we have covered these two. Now greater than equal to, if I write it this way, a is greater than equal to b, this is also false because a is not greater and not equal as well to b, so in this case also it will be false. If I write a is less than equal to b, in this case what will happen? Answer will be true because b is greater, right? So if now let's say if I am writing 10 here, a is 10, b is 10 as well, right? So answer will be false because a is not greater than b, right? The answer will be false here as well in this case. Why? Because b is not greater than a, but in this case a is greater than equal to b, that means a can be greater as well as equal to b, so in this case the answer will become true, right? Same way, if a is greater than is less than equal to b, both are 10, so answer will be true here, right? But now let's come to equal, a equal to b, that means we are asking that if a is equal to b, so the answer will be true. Why? Because both are equal. And the last one is a is not equal to b, that means we are asking that if a is not equal to b, no it is not equal to b, so it is equal to b, so the answer will be false, right? So this is how the relational operators will work. Let me write it fastly and we will discuss it as well. So let me erase it. Okay, now let's write. So system dot out dot print. Before that we have to give it int a and b, int a, and first one more thing, you can write it this way as well, int a b. You don't have to write in both the words, but let's take scanner as well into consideration in this. So scanner s is equal to new scanner system dot in, that means we are taking input from the user of a and b. So how we are going to write it? We are going to write it this way, int, sorry, we have already declared a and b, so we can write a is equal to s dot next int, sorry, and for this thing you should keep in mind while writing next int, I should be greater. Okay, b is equal to s dot next int. We have taken two things, right? Now we want to print if a is greater than b, a is greater than b. This is first output we want. We want to find out what it will be. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. Okay, now next thing will be, we want to see if a is less than b, if a is greater than equal to b, less than equal to b, equal to b, and last thing is not equal to b. Okay, now we are going to give two inputs to it, a and b, whatever we like according to us, and then sorry, what we are going to do, we are going to see the output. Okay, now let's run it. Now it is asking for me with the output, so 10 and 10, let's give 10 and 10. So answer is, okay, sorry, I have to write ln as well so that we can understand it. ln and ln. We don't have to write in the last part, but let's write it. Okay, now let's see 10 and 10. Okay, so the answers are, first of all we have false, right? Because 10 is not greater than 10, so the answer is false. Same way 10 is not less than 10, right? 10 is not less than 10, so answer is false. Then we have two true because a is greater than equal to b, that means it can be equal and greater as well. A should be greater and equal as well. So same way in the next part, a should be less than or equal to b, so it is equal as well. So a equal to b, so here we have true because both are 10. Now a is not equal to b, that is false because they are equal. Okay, these are all the relational operators that we have in Java, right? I think you guys have understood it. Very easy part. Now let's move to the next operators. Okay, so again I'm going to refresh it. Sorry. Okay, now Let's do it now. The other operators we are going to see is relational operators. Relational we have done, sorry, logical operators. Logical operators. So in logical operators, what happens is we have, let's say, three logical operators mainly, which is and, or, and not. In and, we have this symbol. Okay, so I always write the symbol wrongly. So let me correct it first of all. Okay, now let's come here. So the symbol looks like this. Where it is? Okay, so it looks like this. I'm seeing the keyboard. Okay, now or, the symbol is this. For not, the input is this. So symbol is this. Okay, so these and, or, and not are same as the gates. Maybe you all have studied in the 12th class or 11th class, even in engineering as well. These are same as the gates. That when we had 0 0 in or, in and, answer was 0, right? 0 1, answer was 0 for and. 1 0, answer was 0. For 1 1 only, the answer was 1. Same way here, what we'll have is, we for any of these logical operators, what we will have is, we have the logical operator in between, logical operator, and on the left and right, here on the left side and on the right side, the value should be boolean. That means true true. Same way here we have written 0 0, 0 means false, and 1 means true. Okay, so for and operator, what we will have, if we have answer as true true, both these operations that we have written here, if both of these are true, okay, then only answer will be true. Otherwise, if one is false, other is true, answer will be false. One is false, sorry, first is true, second is false, the answer will be false. And if both are false, 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 answer will be false only, right? This is for and logical operator. Okay, and what is this true and false? So we can write any condition here. So just before it, we have learned relational operators, right? In relational operators, they give only true and false as the output, right? So we can use relation operators and these logical operators with each other, and we can find a good input, like good output. Okay, so how it is going to work, let me write it. So first of all, let me tell you, for and, it works like this: true true is true, false true is false, true false is false, and false false is false. Okay, for or, what is it is going to work? So true true will be true, but false true will also become true, and true false will also become true. Why? Because this is how it works. So this or this. Okay, if any of this is true, then I will return true in or. Okay, and what does not do? Not just makes true into false and false into true. That means if I write not of true, that means we are writing false. Okay, if I am writing not of false, that means I am writing true. Just opposite of it, whatever I am writing. Okay, now let's try to do this, how it is going to work in the IDE. Okay, let's see here. We have taken two inputs, A and B, right? Now I want to see if A is greater than 0. Okay, also if B is greater than 0. That means if A, this will give me, let's say my A and B are 10 and 10. Okay, so A is greater than 0. This is an logical operator that we are using, and it will only give me output as boolean. Okay, so output for this will be, if A is 10, output will be true. For B as well, if I am using only this is also a logical operator, this will give me a boolean output. That means B, if B is greater than 0, B is greater than 0, right? If I am using A and B as 10 10, so true and true, the answer will be, if I am using and as the operator, the answer will be true. Okay, same way, let's write it here. If A is greater than 0 or B is greater than 0. So what does this mean? That we have to see if A is greater than 0. Okay, if one of them is true, then also it will give me true. That means, let me write it this way: A is less than 0. Okay, that means if I am taking A as 10, let me write it here. Let's not take input from the user. Let me write here 10 and here as well 10. Okay, so what will happen in this case? A is 10, B is, A is not less than 0, right? A is greater than 0, so this will give me false. But I am writing or here. So here we have false, here we have B is greater than 0, which is 10. right? So it is true. So false or true. False or true will give me true only. So the answer for this as well will be true. Okay, one of them is true, the answer will be true. If one of them is both of them is false, then only the or part will give me false answer. Let's comment all of these and we will see how it is working, right? So both are true. Okay, now let me make both of them false. That means a is also less than 0, b is also less than 0, but will be the output for or part. Okay, so the output is true and false. Why false? Because both of them are false. A is not less than 0 and b is also not less than 0. That's then it will only give me false. And let's do it for and. And means if one of them is false, any of them is false, the answer will be false only for and. So in this case, let me do it. So both are false. Why? Because one of them is false, a is not less than 0 and b is greater than 0. And a is less than 0 and or b is less than 0. That means both are false. That's why it is giving me false. Okay. Now, one more thing that you have to keep in mind is in AND operator, what happens is if we see that a is less than 0, right? We can see a is less than 0, it is false. So it will not go to the next part to evaluate it. Okay, it will only see that if one of them is false, the answer will be false, right? So if it has seen that the first part is false, it will not evaluate the second part. Okay, but in OR, what happens is it has to go to the both part, because if both of them are false, then only it will give me false answer, right? This thing you should keep in mind. Now let's take example for not as well. Let's make it a is greater than 0, right? It is true. Okay, a is greater than 0. Let's make it false. I am making taking not in front of it. Not will make the true statement into false. Okay, and false statement into true. Now let's run it. So first 2 was false and third also became false because a is greater than 0, right? And I am taking not in front of it, so it is becoming false, right? So this is how these operators work. Okay. Now let's move to the next part. I think you guys have got it, right? How these operators are working, so that I can move to the next part. Just give me a heads up if you guys have got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. Now let's move to the next part. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are going to see conditionals. Okay. Conditionals. So what are conditionals? Conditionals, as the name suggests, conditions. We have to see the conditions, right? That means if, let's say a real life example, let's say I'm saying that I will play if today rain will not come. Okay, if there is no rain today, I will play then only. Otherwise, I will not play. Okay, this is the condition that I am saying. If this will happen, then I will do this. Otherwise, I will do this. Okay, this is a simple example. So same way, if we want to implement these things in coding, how we are going to do that? We have the simple English format. That means if we are going to write some statement here, okay, if that works, then what work we have to do? We have to specify here, okay, else we will do this work. Okay, this is the example of if else statement. Okay, this is called if else statement. That means if whatever I am writing here, if this is true, then this work will be done. Whatever the code we will write here, this code will be implemented. Otherwise, this code will be implemented. Okay, so the simple example, let's move to the coding part so that we will get it. So let's say if a is greater than 0, I am writing if a is greater than 0, what will happen? system, I have to print this system.out.print. Let's say if a is greater than 0, I want to print a is greater, right? Otherwise, what we want to do, else system.out.print, I want to write b is greater, right? So either if a is greater, if a is greater than 0, I'm writing, let's say not a, let's a, if a is greater than b, we are going to write, if a is greater than b, we are going to write a is greater. So let's make it 12, okay, so that it will work. A is greater, otherwise I am going to write b is greater. Okay, this is what we want to do. And one thing in if else you should keep in mind is that this should be boolean. That means it should be, this is where we want to write true or false. The answer for this statement should be true or false. Why? Because we are checking the condition. If this is true, then it should work, otherwise this should work. If it is false, this will not work, this will work, right? So that's why I am writing here the conditional statement, the logic, the relational operators I am writing here, which always give us boolean input, boolean output, right? So if a is greater than b, then we are going to write a is greater, otherwise b is greater. Now let's test it. So a is greater because a is greater than b. Now let's make it less. Okay. So in this case, b is greater. Okay. If this is true, do this, else this, do this. Okay. This is how this if else work. Now you can write it this way as well. So I'm telling you that the if part, whatever I'm writing there, the input should be boolean. Okay. So that can come in just using logical operators, sorry, relational operators, or we can use logical operators as well, right? So if a is greater than 0, we can use here as well and that means, sorry, b is greater than 0. That means I am writing if a is greater than 0 and also b is greater than 0, then I want to print that both are greater than 0. Okay, that means both of them should be greater than 0. Why? Because I have written and in between them. If both of them are greater than 0, then what will happen? I will write both of them is greater than 0. Else what I will write? One of them, 1, or both of them are less than 0. Less than 0. Okay. So one or both, we don't know which one is, but one of them or both of them should are less than 0. Okay. If this will only work if both of them are greater than 0, right? Logical operators, I have to check. Yes, right. So they help in that as okay. Both of them are greater than 0 because a is 10 and b is 10. A is 8, b is 10. So both of them are greater than 0. That's why it is giving me output as both are greater than 0. Let's make it minus 8. Okay. So minus 8, if I am making it minus 8, what will happen? One or both of them are less than 0. That means either one, a is only less than 0 here, right? So that's why it is writing 1 or both of them are less than 0. If I write or in between them, what will happen? A is greater than 0 or b is greater than 0. If one of them is true, then it will give me true as the answer, right? If one of them is true, that means I am making a as minus 8, it is less than 0, right? But b is greater than 0, then it will give me answer as this. The output will change. Output will be 1 or both are greater than 0. 1 or both are greater than 0. Either 1 is greater than 0 or both are greater than 0. Otherwise, it will not work. When it will not work? When both are less than 0. Because in OR, both should be false, right? Left part should be false as well as right part should be false. Then only it will go to else part, right? Then only it will give me false answer. That means both of them are false. Both of them are less than 0 in that case, right? So let's run it. So in this case, one or both of them are greater than 0. Either one is greater than 0 or both of them are greater than 0. Minus 8 and 10. You can see here, right? Else part, let's go to else part when I will make both of them negative. then only this condition will give me false. Why? Because left side will also become false and right side will also become false, because both are less than 0. Then only we will go to else part. So both of them are less than 0. This will be surety in this case, that both of them are less than 0, right? So I hope you have got it. If else, this simple if else that we are using. Okay, so now this is done. We have used logical operators, we have used relational operators in if part. But now one more thing that we have to take care is that, let's say I am making both of them as 10. Okay, I am making both of them as 10, and I want to find out that if a is greater than 0, greater than b, right? Let's make it that only. A is greater than 0. Okay, sorry, a is greater than b. Otherwise we have to write b is greater than a. Okay, so what will happen in this case? It will see that if a is greater than b, what will happen? It will print a is greater than b. But the thing is, it is not greater, they are equal. So it will go to else part, because this will false, this will become false, a is greater than b will become false. So it will go to else part. Okay, in else part, it will give me b is greater than a, but here also b is not greater than a. So what will happen in this case? So this is another thing that we study. Instead of if else, we also have else if loop. Okay, so there are three things here that we have. If, okay, we can write if condition, whatever condition we want to write here. Okay, we can write this way. And if we want to integrate one more condition, that means if this will happen, this will work. Also, if this will happen, this will work. Otherwise, this will work. Okay, so if we want to implement this way, then there is one more thing, if else if loop. In else if loop, we can write one more condition here, and we can write whatever the code we want to implement, and then we can have else. Okay, and one thing you can keep in mind is, we can write how as many numbers of else if we want to add. That means we can write if condition. Okay, if will only occur one time, then we can have else if condition, then we can have another else if condition, and then we can have else. Okay, how many number of else if you want, you can add as number of else if, and we can add condition here and whatever the code we want to implement. Okay, so now let's write it. So here what we will do, if a is greater than b, we have to print a is greater than b. Now let's write here else if b is greater than a, then b is greater, we have to print b is greater than a. Else what will happen? Both are equal. We have to print system dot out dot print both are equal. Okay, so we can run it. Now we will get both are equal. This is also one of the outputs, right? Either it is greater, it is less, or it is equal. That's why I am written in else part that both are equal. Okay, so we can write it this way as well. We can write it, let's say if we don't want to use if else loop, we can write it this way as well. We can directly write if only. So if this, and if this, and at last again if a is equal to b. Okay, then if this. But what it will do is, it will again and again go to if. First of all, it will check if a is greater than b, it will print a is greater than b. Then it will go to the next if, it will again check it, then it will go to the next if, then it will again check it. So there will be three checks here. But we already know that if this will happen, then other thing will not happen, right? In those cases, we will use else if. This is just a representation, we can directly use it, but it will take more checks, that it will check this as well, this as well, this as well, but we don't want to do that, right? Because they are related to each other. So that's why we use if else if loop instead of if loop. This will also give me the correct output, right? Both are equal. This will also give me the correct output. We can use this, but instead of this, when the things are related, we use if else if loop instead of this. So we add else here and we write else here. So one more, more thing you can keep in mind, that we don't, it is not necessary that we have to have else in our if else loop. That is not important. We can do it this way as well, that if else if, we don't need to have else here. Okay, it is not compulsory to have else. This thing you should keep in mind. And how many as many numbers of else if you want, you can add them. And also you can make it if as well, instead of if else or else if. And you can integrate if into if else. That means you can write this way as well: if a is greater than b. Okay, if I want to split it as well, so if a is greater than b, that is okay. Now I want to see if a is greater than 10 or not. Okay, if a is greater than 10, I want to print something, else I want to print something. Okay, let's say I want to print, let me copy this, C, control V, control V. Okay, and I want to comment it. Now let's say I want to write it a is greater than b and also greater than 10. Okay, I want to write it this way: a is greater than b but less than 10. So what I want to show here is that we can use if into if else into if as well, and you can write how many numbers of else here, just like if else work. You can do that as well. Okay, so let me run it. What will be the output? So sorry, let's not run it, make it 12 here. Okay, now let's run it. So output is a is greater than b and also greater than 10, because a I have made it here 12. Okay, now one last thing is that if I am implementing if else, then after implementing it, if I want to print something here, let's say system dot out dot print anything outside if else, I want to print this. Okay, so what will happen after implementing all these conditions, after checking all these conditions? First it will go to if that is true, it will go inside, it will check this if and this else. Okay, then after if it a is not greater than b, it will directly go to else if. It will check it that if b is greater than a, no, if that is also not true, it will come here, it will print both are equal. Okay, if a is equal to b, and after that whatever the output of this if else will be, this last line will always be printed, because this if else is related to themselves only. After completing that if else, it will surely come to this statement. Okay, after completing that, it will come to 23rd line. Okay, in 23rd line it will definitely print outside if else. Okay, let's try to run it. So what will happen outside if else? Let me write ln here. So I have to write in all, but let me write it here only, because this will be the output for this. So the answer is a is greater than b and also greater than 10, and we are outside if else. It will always be printed, even if this if else will work for sure, right? Even if it doesn't work, then it will also be printed. Okay, right? So I hope you guys have got it. Okay, just tell me if you guys have got it, this if else part. This last statement has no relation with if else. Okay, this statement, so it will always be printed. So I think we have already closed 10 minutes extra. So now I think if you guys have got it, just tell me yes. Okay, okay. So okay, for today it is enough. So just revise it once before coming to the next class, and we will continue with the next class. Okay, in the next class only. Thank you very much.